This is what I want to react to.
We're here to worship Jesus. Do you think Jesus would be understanding?
Christians are treated differently in this country. I think you'd be having a very different conversation if Nick Fuentes stormed into a synagogue.
Okay. Rod Blagojevich, the host of the A3 podcast, Ethan Klein, and the host of the Benny Show, Benny Johnson. Welcome
I can't believe he's on there.
Okay,
dude.
Benny, welcome back to Uncensored, and thank you for your good wishes about my little encounter with a step that led to quite unbelievable amount of damage to my hip.
I actually can't believe it.
But that has all been
I'm very sorry about that, Piers.
I'm on the road to recovery. Yeah.
So wait a second. I did have a question for you. You didn't answer this. You didn't answer this when I texted you. Are you experiencing that NHS, that quality NHS service back in the UK, or are you stateside in private care?
No, I was here, but I have private health insurance, which I made the most of. I would say about the NHS that when it's good, it's great. And if you, Benny Johnson, come to London and you fall like I did and you break your femur and you need a new hip, you know what you won't get? You'll get great treatment and you won't get somebody hovering over you demanding thousands of dollars. That's the beauty of the NHS. You may not like it, but trust me, in that moment, you'll love it. But let's not have a debate about the NHS.
We're happy that you're on the mend. I was very sad to hear about that. Very thankful that you're okay.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the message. Okay, look, Don Lemon, not a great friend of either of ours, can be very annoying, clearly lapping this up now like a dairy farmer milking the udder of a very large...
Wait, why wouldn't you farm it, right? Like, if you got arrested, why wouldn't you turn that into content? Of course. Piers would be the first person to turn that into content, right?
Set of cows, as you can't blame him, and you'll end up making him more famous, richer, and everything else. So completely cataclysmic own goal, I would argue, by the Trump administration. However, you know, I've talked to a number of lawyers here, and it's a complex issue, actually, because Lemon's charged with violating an 1871 law.
I thought Ethan Klein was the NVDG. Yeah, but Ethan Klein's in the coalition against evil, all right? The evil that needs to be purged from this country. The demons and imps that swarm this world must all be cold.
Originally designed to combat the Ku Klux Klan by conspiring to deprive others of their civil rights and violating the FACE Act by obstructing access to a house of worship. Now, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act of '94 is a law signed by the former President Bill Clinton that makes it a federal crime to physically obstruct entry to clinics offering reproductive health services, but has now been adapted for this. So my question for you, Ben, is, we've all watched the footage. We've all seen what happened. Don was broadcasting it. To me, there is a qualitative difference between what the protesters were doing, which almost certainly did break the law, and what Don Lemon was doing, which was reporting on what they were doing. And if we don't make that distinction, then whether you're a journalist who skews left or right or down the middle, then the precedent this would set going forward is going to be horrific. So why should we be gleeful, as many on the conservative right are, about the prosecution of Don Lemon?
So I want to take this a couple different ways here, Piers. I mean, number one, I think you'd be having a very different conversation if Nick Fuentes stormed into a synagogue, wouldn't you? And started harassing the rabbi? Wouldn't you be having a different conversation if
No. Not really. You know, he already looks bad on his own, okay? We don't need to look, okay? We don't need to we don't need to do anything to him, okay? He makes an embarrassment of himself.
Alex Jones stormed a mosque,
sure, but
right? Like you'd be, well, no, I would apply. Well, you'd be saying this is terrible. Like, how dare you? I'm saying that Christians are treated differently in this country, and that Don Lemon
That's a very good question. I would say this, Benny, on that point.
I would say also,
let me answer you.
Oh my god, this is already so unhinged. This is already so unhinged.
I say all of the above are wrong. I just let me make my point. I just been talking for like 10 seconds.
Did Don Lemon go in there and harass the?
No.
Why do I think the dude in the center was Fuentes or past him is? Because you have poor eyesight, okay?
Or did he?
But he did. I mean, look, okay. So if you read, did you read the federal filing? Did you read the grand jury indictment?
I watched the video.
Right, and they used the video.
It was all streamed, Benny.
They watched the video in the grand jury indictment. They used his own video as the
actually
evidence against him, along with a number of other, and along with all of the evidence that was provided by the churchgoers. I'm saying that all of the above is wrong, and that you can't do that.
Why do you think this guy is Nick Fuentes? I don't understand. You're so stupid, dude. Oh
these are places of worship. These are also private property, and that Don Lemon was part of a conspiracy to do this because Don Lemon was working with the organizers. He was delivering coffee to them. God. He was working with the actual individuals who were planning this. He said so on his live stream, and then he went up to the front of the pulpit and started harassing protesting the pastor there at the front of the pulpit. Now, what was also happening was also it's on video. So what was also happening here was that little children were being wrongfully imprisoned. Do you know this? Like little children were being wrongfully imprisoned. If you read the indictment, the children were being kept in their Sunday schools by the protesters, harassed, spit on, attacked. They weren't able to get to their parents. And Don Lemon says in the video, and thank you for mentioning this, Ethan, that is on video. The Don Lemon says in the video, these children look traumatized. Well, actually, that's the point. This is an exact quote from his live stream. And so if you think that that's okay to do to like little children in a church or children in a synagogue or children in a
if the children are Republican, then they need to go, okay? If the children are Republican, all right, frankly, I don't really care about them, okay? Republican children are not children, okay? They're imps of demons, okay? My fear is that we announced this during a campaign, then non-publicly announced we are appointing an AG to target Trump, knowing the makeup of those SCOTUS, these motherfuckers will pull a new legal theory out their asses to invalidate Trump. Sure, I mean, it's not like I disagree with that, okay?
I think it's all wrong. I think that these places of worship should be off limits for people protesting or attacking them.
Aren't there Texan children? Well, you know, like if they look, all right, it really depends on which state they're living in, okay? If it's Californian children, you know, that's potential votes we're missing out on, okay? If they're Democratic children in Florida, you know, we need to swing Florida back to blue, okay? If it's, you know, if it's black children in Georgia, we need to spare them, all right? If it's anywhere white, all right, I know that these motherfuckers are going to vote Republican. They need to go, okay?
It's not his job is to lie. That's not what happened. The administration.
That's
right. Let me bring okay. Hang on. Don't talk at once. Don't all talk at once. Let me get to Brian next.
Much older, slightly
I do
gayer,
think Benny raised a good point. That's why I tried to
I
answer
don't know
this
how you
question
can look more
in real
gay
time.
in
It was aimed
front
at
of
everybody. Which is, if that had been Alex Jones, who does a version of what Don Lemon does, but to the right, if he had gone into a mosque, for example, and he'd gone in with a group of protesters who then interrupted the worship and traumatized young Muslim kids, right, or whatever, an exact similar situation, but a mosque and it's Alex Jones, can you say with all honesty, you would be out here defending Alex Jones?
Well, first of all, for full disclosure, I'm friends with Don Lemon. And to answer your question, Piers, if Alex Jones wasn't protesting, because Don Lemon wasn't protesting, Benny Johnson is lying when he says that Don Lemon harassed the pastor. If Alex Jones wasn't harassing anybody and didn't disturb anybody, I would be saying the same thing I'm about to say right now. Don Lemon was not protesting. He wasn't breaking the law. Maybe you could cite him for maybe trespassing. But the fact of the matter here is that this is not going to hold up in court. This is a charade. This is another example of the Donald Trump administration that is weaponizing the DOJ. And yes, I do think the color of his skin, certainly his politics and his sexuality have something to do with this. But you see, people like Benny Johnson, okay, who I do believe is a right-wing shill for Donald Trump, they're the first people after January 6th that called it a tourist visit. They patriots and hostages if you beat cops. But oh my God, Don Lemon didn't storm a church, by the way. He walked into the church, he took out his cell phone, and he started recording. But to Benny, people like Benny, this is the worst thing in the world. Put him in jail. But yet when it comes to January 6th, if you beat cops, they're hostages and
Benny does not like this. Benny is like, I'm taking a lot of heat right now. Okay?
Benny, my advice to you is stop being a Donald Trump cock and tell the truth and be honest for once in your life. I know you make a
Biz, to cook this motherfucker. Let's go.
What about Steve Baker?
Every single day. You're lying.
So wait a second. What about Steve Baker? So Steve Baker's a journalist for The Blaze. He was arrested for covering January 6th. So Steve Baker, was he just a journalist? Should he?
Yeah, Benny. Okay. Start changing your name to Cummy Johnson, because that's what you're receiving every single time you talk about Trump. Okay? Simple as. Also, Benny Johnson? Yeah, I bet that's what Trump calls you whenever you suck his little orange cock. Okay?
Be freed? Are you in favor of Steve Baker? Are you advocating for Steve Baker?
You see what Benny just did? The guy, his Messiah, who he supports, Donald Trump, called those who beat cops with their own batons. Some of these cops have.
But answer his question, though, Brian. Answer his question about Steve Baker. Steve Baker was sent to jail. Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Natural, makers of the...
Don't care. Move on.
Yes, I believe that some of those, like Baker, and I'm on the record saying this, Benny, were over-prosecuted. Absolutely. The people that I was concerned about on January 6th were those violent criminals. Don Lemon's never been arrested for a crime in his life. Don Lemon has never been charged with a crime in his life. He took out his cell phone, he recorded, he didn't...
This guy is a powerhouse, okay? If this is the guy I'm thinking of, the same person who was... during the Unfuck America event, specifically, if this is the same person I'm thinking of, this guy is epic, okay? Hopefully this is the same person I'm thinking of, but if this is the same person I'm thinking of,
the Capitol. Moments before he walked into the church and he followed these people. He wasn't necessarily, quote, working with them. It's all on the live stream. And by the way,
the one flaw, okay, but Brian, the one flaw I think in that defense, and I broadly agree with you about this, I don't think he should be prosecuted, but he
Brian
does,
Shapiro?
where I think he's a bit...
Wait, is Brian Shapiro? Okay. Just making sure, okay? Because I wanted to find out his name after that thing was over, because he cooked Alex Stein so fucking hard, he sent him back into his mom's vagina spiritually, okay? He made his ancestors shiver and turn their graves, all right? That's all hard, okay? That's my Jew. That's my Jew ninja. All right.
Vulnerable. He does in his own live stream repeatedly use the word we. We are going to go in. Right now, if you're trying to paint a picture, as Benny did earlier, of a conspiracy where Don is not just a journalist reporting, but is actually an active participant in the protest group that goes in, using the phrase we are going to go in here, I think is going to be problematic for it, because it implies
that's also how
that
French
he's part
people
of the
say
protest group.
we.
But Piers, I hear what you're saying, okay? But here's what they're going to have to prove in court. I'm talking about the prosecutors. Was he actively protesting? Was he disturbing a church service in one way or another? And in my personal opinion, the answer is no. All he did, I repeat, is take out his cell phone and started to record, as any journalist would do. And then he conducted a few interviews. Now, at worst case scenario, you might be able to get him on a trespassing charge.
That's forbidden.
But Piers, let's be honest here. And I think for the most part, we agree on this. This is nonsense. It's because who Don Lemon is. This is exactly what's going on here. I find it interesting. They don't want a full investigation, people like Benny, when it comes to Jonathan Ross. When you shoot an innocent 37-year-old woman in the face, nothing to see here. But let's have a full-on investigation for a bunch of protesters.
Well,
who, by the way, I don't.
All right. Let me bring in Rod, because the worst thing, Rod, for me about this is if you could have scripted the one thing Don Lemon would have loved most to happen to him in the last few days, it would be to be arrested for something like this by the Trump administration, turned into an instant martyr to the extent that he goes to the Clive Davis pre-Grammys party and they give him a standing ovation, right? He got a bigger cheer than some of the big superstars. This is Don Lemon's idea of a dream come true. So, if anyone thinks this is going to either silence or neuter Don Lemon, or indeed deter other people like Don Lemon from doing the same. I do think, by the way, Brian, I don't want you to respond to this, but the idea that he's being targeted because he's black or gay, I think is ridiculous. He's annoying, whatever his skin color and sexuality, but he's loving his moment.
That's my Jew.
Because it has played right into his hands. He's going to get a load more clicks, a load more money. He's a lot more famous. So, Rod, this doesn't work for me on any level. Making
I love how he just fucking suddenly transitioned to a cutaway of Don Lemon at the fucking WWE for him, because he's now the hero of journalism or whatever. Chances are, right? Chances are he was fading into irrelevance, right? Before all this shit. But literally Trump is so fucking retarded and ordered the arrest of this motherfucker, and ironically enough fucking spurred him back into relevance. Is so fucking funny to me. Holy
Don
shit.
Lemon, the most famous martyr in American journalism, on doing it in a way that looks to most people like overreach. How does that make a win for Trump?
Well, Piers, I'm super sensitive when it comes to people who are getting arrested. I spent 2,896 days sheltering in place in prison for political things, not crimes, for conversations on telephones that were started by Obama. Those weren't crimes. That was free speech.
What was that for?
So when I see what's happening to Don Lemon and when I see what happened to most of the people on January the 6th, this is the overcriminalization of fundamental freedoms in America. I don't like Don Lemon. I think he's not even remotely an objective journalist. And I think, what you're saying about him being martyred now in the political left is very true. He was not there to report honestly about what he was seeing. He was there propagandizing. But in a free society, we all have a right to freely propagandize, and it's up to the American people to decide whether or not you believe us or not. So I think, just as a matter of what was right or wrong, as your guest, Mr. Shapiro, says, unless he was protesting, disturbing someone, and there was mob action or something involved in his time being there, if he was just reporting as a biased left-wing reporter, I don't see that being criminal.
You ever play that game Guess Who as a kid? These guys look like they could be part of that game. Yeah.
And from a practical point of view, yes, I agree. They martyred him. Unfortunately, they elevated him. It was a bad tactical move as well. And I will say this. I think our country is in deep trouble because of the weaponization.
I mean, if there's anybody to celebrate, it should probably be a journalist, right? Don't you think that we should stop celebrating? Don't you think we should stop celebrating some motherfuckers? If we celebrate anybody, shouldn't we celebrate journalists?
That's going on. Nobody has been more weaponized than Donald Trump by Democratic prosecutors in New York and in Georgia and Jack Smith for non-crimes. It's a mistake, I think, for our country if now the Trump people try to make up for that by being vengeful. I don't think they are. I think in this particular case, it was just a bad move by whoever the prosecutor was. But I do think it's important moving forward. I think President Trump is the type of leader who understands that we better do something about weaponization, lawfare, and protect our freedoms in America because, and I say this about my own party, no one does weaponization or lawfare more so or better than the Democratic Party.
We don't want you, trust me.
Ethan, you've been waiting for it.
Hey.
You as a Democrat. And the reason for that, of course, is that, Rod, respectfully, you're probably the most corrupt politician in modern American history. You were sentenced to 14 years for attempting to sell a Senate seat. You were caught on wiretap by the FBI. The closest you should be allowed to a microphone is a Starbucks drink order announcer. I mean, why are you even here, Rod? Respectfully, you are a disgraced person.
You should get your facts right, my friend.
What's the facts there, Rod?
And no quid pro quo. Read the case.
Were you in prison? Were you found guilty of corruption?
I was wrongfully convicted for non-crimes by the use of jury instructions that were not crimes and sent to prison for 14 years, never took a penny because I fought back. And I fought back against this kind of weaponization.
You tried to take a penny.
You, in this particular case...
You said, quote, this seat is golden about the seat you are attempting to sell.
No, I said this seat is effing golden. I'm not giving up for nothing to make a political deal because Obama asked to make a political deal. Get your facts right. And by the way, 98% of those FBI tapes are still
the judge got the facts right.
You don't have the facts.
Listen, you got pardoned by Trump. You're out here glazing him up. We know the deal. But the truth is, don't sit here and act like you have any legitimate.
This is what I'm talking about. This is how you should engage with Trumpers, okay? This is how you should engage with Trumpers, all right? Listen, okay? He may have betrayed Steven, my ninja, all right? But he is my ninja, all right? When it comes to against the conservatives, okay? All right? Against the conservatives, there is no infighting. We must remain united, all right?
Clout or you have no legitimacy in this world. You're a criminal, and you use the American democracy like a piggy bank. Like again, you should. The only microphone you should be near is Starbucks order. You know.
Drunken master. Bro has been brushing up on his debate skills. What can I say? This guy's drunken master. How could you beat drunken master? He's drunken master. All right. He don't miss when he's drunken master. All right, he's drunken master.
Let me say this: I stood on the rule I would never give in to those weaponized prosecutors. What they did to me at the AAA level to a Democrat governor, the same kind of people did that same thing to President Trump at the major league level. And it's wrong if you do it to me. It's wrong if you do it to Trump. And it's wrong if you do it to Don Lemon. And it's wrong if you do it to Don Lemon. And the key to a democracy is an informed electorate. You need to get your facts right, my friend, and get yourself informed.
You need to get your facts right, sir.
I know my facts.
Hold on. The judge said jail. The judge and jury said
tries in the back.
They tried. Okay, they tried me twice.
That's you,
you know what? All right, guys.
Go ahead.
Guys, I think we're drifting. We are drifting. We are drifting off.
Respectfully, we're drifting.
We're drifting off topic.
And I'll say,
Ethan, let's get back to the topic.
I
want to talk about Don Lemon.
He agrees that Don Lemon shouldn't be arrested. So I'll say, even this Trump lackey is willing to make.
Yes. Show Piers Morgan who's boss, okay? Show Piers Morgan who is in charge of this fucking panel. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Piers Morgan, know your little place as the bitch bottom. Yeah, I bet you like that. You little saucy, feisty little brat.
That concession where someone like Benny here, who, let's be real, his overlords go beyond Donald Trump. He's accountable to the Russians who paid him a nice, hefty, beautiful hundreds of thousands from Tenet Media. So
more than that.
Again, well, we don't know. Maybe Benny can tell us how much
the
they paid him.
The DOJ said that I was victim of a crime.
I'm sorry.
The DOJ says, Merrick Garland says I am victim of a crime in that me, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and a number of others.
So which is it? Are you
smarter than the Biden DOJ? About being an overlord, having an overlord lackey.
Or are you a traitor? Are you a traitor or a fool? Those are the two options.
Do you know what? The ad hominem stuff, Ethan.
It's not ad hominem. That's what happened.
They're fine.
Are you kidding me? Piers Morgan is all about ad hominem attacks. Like, I can't imagine Piers Morgan with, like, playing nice. Like, what the fuck? This entire thing is a Piers... Dude, Piers Morgan is the kind of motherfucker, all right, who called, Nick Fuentes a racist, okay? Not that I disagree, okay? But I'm just saying, ad hominem attacks is a part of this. Although, to be fair, Nick Fuentes did define himself to be like that.
Listen,
it's total ad hominem.
They are ad hominem attacks.
I'm not attacking your person.
And I don't want to spend... With respect to everybody, I don't want to spend the entire panel talking about individuals on the panel.
Can we go to
Ethan,
Don Lemon?
just give me your...
Yes.
Ethan, just give me your assessment of what's happened with Don Lemon.
Gladly. So I agree with the majority on the panel that, he did nothing. He walked in there as a journalist recording. He said, you guys are very keen to talk about what he said on camera, but you forget this one, Benny. He said, quote, I'm not part of the group. I'm a journalist. Talk about we, which is like a words game. It's semantics. But again, you go back to what he actually said, and it's, quote, I'm not a part of the group. I'm a journalist. I think the whole conversation is just stupid at this point because it's like, it's so obvious that this was just done as a revenge, out of spite. It's political spite.
Piers,
there's literally no question to it. And I think Benny would agree. He's like, yeah, it's spite.
So, Piers, you had Valentina, if you recall, on your show about a month ago. I think we both...
It's funny that the two Republican dudes are crooked traitors to this country, and the two leftists are just normal dudes with that most internet drama. Yeah.
She's despicable. She's running for office in Texas. Yeah. She went into a church. There's video of this a month ago, and she called the churchgoers pedophiles. They asked her to leave. Multiple people asked her to leave. I'm sure Benny's not talking about this, or he'll say, I don't know anything about that. But she didn't leave right away. It's all on video. She stormed a church. She called people pedophiles. Not only is she not arrested, but the DOJ is not even investigating this case. So this is a double standard at a minimum. Don Lemon didn't break any laws. He wasn't harassing anybody. I'm sorry if a few kids were crying and their church service was disturbed. I really am sorry about that. But I care a little bit more about Renee Good's family and the fact that her kids are growing up.
True. Man, fuck them kids.
But people like Benny don't want a full investigation into that. Let's call these people who were murdered domestic terrorists and assassins.
Fuck
but boy, that guy Don Lemon, I can't believe he
kids.
stormed the church and he did a couple interviews. Benny, give me a break.
I can sit here and be live.
Is that what you sound like when you're slurping on Trump's cock? Who's the base dude with the cavi cap? I forgot his name. I think it was Brian Shapiro. Yeah.
Consistent in my worldview, which is that you should not storm places of worship. Period. I don't want anybody on the left doing it. I don't want anybody on the right doing it. I'm saying you shouldn't do that. And I also agree. I mean, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I also agree with probably everyone on this panel, which is that Don Lemon is a black hole narcissist. He spent 30 years in cable news. He's going to use this. He's going to use this to.
What is a black hole narcissist?
He is a narcissist that pulls literally gravity in on himself. He's going to use this for further power and further popularity. And so you're going to have to bring the receipts when it comes to prosecuting Don Lemon. Piers said this. Everyone said this. This is what happens with high profile prosecutions. You have to be able to bring the receipts. If you actually read the grand jury testimony, which I find this remarkable, by the way, every one of these people on the panel has probably tweeted, no one's above the law. Nobody's above the law. No one's above the law. Well, it was a grand jury in dark blue Minnesota that said Don Lemon deserves to be arrested, indicted. It was a grand jury that did that. So is somebody above the law or not?
I want to go back to what Benny just said.
The idea that Donald Trump is sitting in his office, like pointing and saying, arrest that man.
Sure,
that's not how this works.
Benny, so this is my friend, and Benny, hold on a second. Benny, you just...
I find it amazing that you say, like, little Christian children is, I don't care if I'm sorry that little Christian children were crying and weeping and sobbing in their church. Have you talked to the church pastor?
Yeah, who cares? They're probably going to go vote Republican anyway. Fuck them.
I've spoken with the pastor of that church, Jonathan Parnell.
So let me respond. Benny just called my friend
Don Lemon. Were terrorizing the little children in the church. I can't believe that you're sitting there in favor of this.
Benny,
you can see the photographs of the...
Yeah, it turns out that terrifying little children, like, who cares? Dude, didn't that, like, one white mom, like, call the little, like, the little black children, like, the N-word with the hard R? Yeah, give me a break. They're probably Christians too. Yeah, the black community is, like, mostly Christian, right?
Crying in their parents' arms. What happened here was immoral. It's despicable. It is indefensible. It's utterly indefensible. Places of worship should not be stormed by anyone. Period.
I'm okay with
the little ninja. Yeah.
Protesters being charged.
Let me just clear something. 30 seconds.
All right, Brian, very quick response, and then I want to change.
Yes.
I want to change topic after Brian's very quick response to that.
First of all, I don't believe you should protest in a church or private property. I'm not condoning that behavior, number one. Number two, you just called my friend Don Lemon a narcissist. You are the same guy that is a shill for Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear somebody like Benny Johnson who supports Donald Trump.
I'm just like he was on Piers' show. Watch the interview with Piers. Piers, what was it like on your show? Like, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. People have egos in this profession.
You got like 500K in donations? No. 1 million.
And it's fine. It's fine. I'm literally saying that you better come correct when you're bringing the receipts and when you're charging this guy. That's all I'm saying. Is that, like, yes, you're right. I think everybody on this panel agrees that Don Lemon will then, utilize this. We saw it at the Grammys last night, for more power, fame. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a job back in TV. He was fired by CNN. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a job back in TV after this. That's all.
You have no idea what Don Lemon wants or doesn't want to do, Benny. You don't know him personally like I do. I can tell you he is not a narcissist. The narcissist is the orange turd who you support because you wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. So don't talk about my friend like that.
Tax. That's right. Got it.
I love the knee pads thing. He is using it, like, again. Like, yeah. But he used it before against Alex Stein. Like, he said that Alex Stein should get knee pads so that he could be on Trump's fucking cock. That's his go-to now. Oh my god. It's so funny.
I want to talk about criminal journalists, Benny. Let's start with you, buddy.
No, let's not go down those roads.
How much they pay you? We really need to know.
Let's not get into this. I don't want to get into individual panel members. Let's try and keep
No, but let's do that. Like, hold on. Why are you trying to sweep? Come on, man. Let's not sweep this motherfucker, okay? I fucking love this shit.
Don Lemon will not be convicted. I guarantee you, Don Lemon will not be convicted of these crimes. He will be exonerated in a courtroom.
I think you're probably right.
He's going to be fine.
I think you're probably right. But I think also Don Lemon, I've been watching his output. I've been watching Don's output in the last few days, and he's gone full on Trump derangement madness. I mean, it's just he's
Trump derangement madness or syndrome. Why did he try to come up with, like, some other word for fucking TDS?
He's making a financial play. Making a financial play. No illusion. Don's raison d'etre.
How do you just say TDS? What the fuck? Like, God, you're so shameful.
Now is to be the #1 Trump hater in the world media. That's fine, but let's not pretend that's not what he's doing.
He went on Jen Welch's podcast afterwards and said he's going after this church because of white supremacy, because the parishioners were white. Are you in favor of that? This is like a hate crime.
I'll answer that.
Are you in favor of that? He said it. There's.
Oh God, having to listen to Benny Johnson should be considered a hate crime. Holy shit! All right, it's cruel and unusual punishment.
Multiple clips of it.
It's a black hole if you want to talk about hate crimes.
That's a space term. That's a term. That's something that exists in the galaxy.
Can I answer? Because I asked him about this because he's done my show probably 5 times in the last month. So he believes there is something in this country called white privilege, Benny. You have it and I have it. He does believe there are.
Yeah, Benny is floundering because, you know, he knows that he's a fucking grifter. That's why.
Some cases in the church or in America where there is white supremacy. Now, I know you probably believe there isn't anything in like Tucker Carlson, that white privilege doesn't exist in this country and white supremacy doesn't exist. But the fact of the matter is, Benny, is that it does. Now, I would like to go back to the black hole comment. But what did you mean by that when you made that statement?
I'm surprised you call it a gay black hole.
Black hole is something that exists in space and time, and it absorbs gravity. And so it's just something that Don Lemon is going to take the gravity of the situation and use it to become more powerful. That's what I've said, and I said that the Trump administration has to be very careful in charging this, because this is what people do in these kind of circumstances.
What did he say?
So Benny, I'll tell you what he won't do. Sure. So Benny, I'll tell you what Don Lemon won't do. He won't make billions of dollars in a crypto scandal. He won't build a ballroom.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was referring to Benny Johnson.
For his own financial gain. Jared Kushner, one of his friends, won't be taking $2.1 billion from the Saudis. So if you want about taking power over and having power and taking advantage of it, sure, Don Lemon's going to be more successful because of this. But do you know why? Because of the buffoons in the White House that decided to charge this guy. And I think most of us agree on this panel, it's not going to hold up in a courtroom. So if you have anybody to blame for this, it's not Don Lemon. It's the morons like Pam Bondi and Donald Trump that did this to Don Lemon, which will help him more in the long run. But please don't talk to me and lecture me about power and then taking advantage of that. When Donald Trump
I find this amazing what you just admitted here, and I'm trying to be respectful as you're rambling. So you just said that it's okay that Don Lemon attacked this church because they're white?
So first of all, Don Lemon made general terms about the church. He wasn't specifically talking about an individual. He wasn't specifically talking about an individual group of people in the church. He made very generic and general claims, which I agree with him, that white supremacy in this country is a problem and white privilege in this country is a problem as well. And if you don't agree with that there is something called white privilege and that, yes, white supremacy is an issue in this country, then you can take the page from Tucker Carlson and have the blinders on and be complicit, Benny. That's up to you.
I do think it's probably worth bearing
Damn. Bro is spot on.
It's probably worth bearing in mind at this stage that Don is married to a rather wealthy, privileged, elitist white man, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't deny that. That's fine, but that's not the point that Don Lemon was trying to make.
I'm just saying.
I understand.
He seems a very nice chap, but he is white and privileged. I want to change the subject. I want to move on to the Epstein scandal. Rod, I want to bring you in here. The Epstein scandal is raging ever bigger, but accountability is still really not moving, particularly in America. So in the UK, the human being formerly known as Prince Andrew, now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, he's been brought down. He's been finished. Lord Mandelson is probably very soon not going to be a lord and may well be facing a police investigation as we speak. He's finished. So a lot of British people who've been named in these files are being brought to book and dealt with. No high-profile Americans so far. Why?
Well, I mean, the wheels of justice sometimes move slowly. I think more information is coming out, and as a result of that, I think you're going to see action because some of this information has been suppressed, like the 98% of the FBI tapes on my case. To the guy with the camel cap. No, I think eventually some people will be brought to justice.
I love how Ethan Klein in the background is just like, oh, here we go. It's just so fucking funny, bro.
I mean, here again, you don't want to over-prosecute. You don't want to jump to conclusions and maybe charge somebody like a Don Lemon for something that may not be a crime. I think you got to be very careful with something like this because
like, here we go again.
If you're accused of something like this, your life is destroyed. Very notable people are now caught up in Epstein, those relationships. President Clinton for one, Bill Gates for another, not just Prince Andrew. And I was in politics to meet a lot of people along the way. Thank goodness I never met him. But it's very likely.
Ethan is also funny. I didn't expect him to do this. I'll say I'm quite surprised.
Actually, that most of the people that intersected with Epstein had nothing to do with any of that stuff. Didn't know anything about it. And so I think it's prudent that whatever prosecutions come, it's done judiciously and carefully because these are very, very serious allegations. They should be prosecuted if, in fact, there's probable cause that someone did something to a child. But again, you don't want to destroy somebody's life when you jump the gun.
Friend Donald Trump.
Okay, let me ask.
Hang on.
Well, you know whose life was destroyed and will never be reclaimed? Renee Good, Alex Pretty. They're gone. And no amount of fixing will bring them back.
Hang on, I want to ask Benny this. So Benny, it seems to me, I've taken a position on this from the start. That if
people
you
are killed,
distance
they're
yourself
dead.
completely from Epstein after his conviction for being a pedophile, then okay, you've got plausible deniability. You didn't know what kind of guy he was. He was a big socialite, wealthy guy, mixing with the rich and famous and powerful. But then he got a conviction for a sex crime against a minor. Okay, at that point, there's no confusion about who he is. And yet we see people like Elon Musk, for example, the richest man in the world, owner of X, who has been on a sort of rampage the last few days of trying to justify why he's the knight in shining armor about all this. He blew the whistle. He's the one demanding prosecutions, but repeatedly saying,
I was surprised too. I think he wants this as a stepping stone to be on a panel with Dan Blitz. I don't know who that is, but
I turned down all invitations to the island, blah, 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 blah. And yet we're seeing in real time emails which directly contradict that. Not that he ever went to the island, but he certainly expressed a keenness to go there. I wanted to know when the wildest parties were taking place and so on.
and then Epstein said no. Oh my God.
And it just, as I've said
so
on the show already, it's the little things where, like when he was Prince Andrew, it's the little things where if they're not telling the truth, about the little stuff, what else are they not telling the truth about? Are you concerned that we're seeing a lot of people who, Howard Lutnick, another one, I never saw him again after whatever date it was, and then we know that's not true now. A lot of the chronology that these people are trying to paint has been destroyed by the reality of the documentary evidence from these files. What do you make of that?
You're not going to my special
yeah,
party.
You're exactly right. There is two different distinct timelines for people that were dealing with Jeffrey Epstein. There's pre-prosecution in Florida for pedophilia, child trafficking, underage abuse of young women. This is what Jeffrey Epstein was charged with. And then there's dealing with him after those prosecutions. And of course, he pled to those charges. He then was put inside of his own wing of a low security prison. He was allowed to go home on the weekends. Alex Acosta was the federal prosecutor there in the Bush era, by the way, which is frankly something that I'd really like to look into. Like, why the hell did Jeffrey Epstein get to skate on these early charges? If you skstack up the charges against Jeffrey Epstein, there was in 2006 to 2008. George Bush.
Oh, please. Benny, you probably voted for someone who is a pedophile, okay? It's right there in the White House. Trump is the top of it. He is Epstein's BFF. Okay, they love each other dearly. Very much so.
Was President Robert Mueller was in charge of the FBI. These charges should have landed him in prison for the rest of his life. None of us should be having this conversation. Jeffrey Epstein should be rotting in a prison cell for his crimes that he pled to in 2006 and through 2008, his prosecution. Why the hell was all of the people that were with him given immunity, like Ghislaine Maxwell? Why did that happen? I think this is ultimately the real question. Because there's a lot of people that drag down in this.
Well, I mean, it's obviously Trump, right? I mean, Trump was the one that is, fucking over. I mean, like, look, it's just Trump. It's Trump.
Scummy behavior.
So why is the one who?
Let Benny finish.
And let me just finish my thought here, because like, everyone's gonna sit here and accuse me of being a shill for the Republican Party. Listen, George Bush was president during this time. Alex Acosta was working for George Bush. Alex Acosta said, "Don't charge Jeffrey Epstein. Back off. He belongs to Intel."
There's
something so much deeper that is going on here, and what we're seeing in the 3 million files, photographs, and videos that have been released is certainly threads of Jeffrey Epstein on a state level, being a state actor. We're running a compromise operation against some of the most powerful people, including members of royal families, heads of state, Ehud Barak, a ton of other people that were all ensnared in this, very rich people.
Vladimir Putin, potentially.
But all I'm trying to say here is that, like, we shouldn't be talking about Jeffrey Epstein, because that evil son of a bitch should be in prison right now for the rest of his life, rotting in jail for the rest of his life.
But Benny, with respect,
I wish we could get back. I wish we could get back as to who was it that prevented that from happening, because that should.
Well, Benny, the thing about hindsight is that we can't always fix the past. For example, I cannot put you back into your mom's vagina. Okay, I wish that your mom swallowed. All right, but things happen, and we have to move on. All right.
I find it interesting that Blanche is the guy that said the other day in a press conference that there's really no more investigations here. We're probably not going to find anybody else. I'm paraphrasing here. I also find it interesting that only about 50% of the files have been released. Benny, Donald Trump has called people like you and me stupid for even talking about this. He's been doing everything he can to try to prevent the truth from coming out. And if the defense is, well, why didn't Joe Biden do this? First of all, you mentioned Maxwell. She was under trial, open investigation, and then there was an appeal. That's number 2 there. And I would also go as far as to say this. The fact of the matter is that Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files hundreds of times. What did Dan Bongino do about it? What did Kash Patel do about it? Well, they say that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. There's nothing to see here. We had all these people out there with binders, people like you, Benny. People out there with binders.
I didn't hold any binders. Dude, get your facts straight. Like, I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to defend the non-release of Epstein evidence. I'm not going to defend it. Like, I think that it was a total mistake. I think it was a total mistake. I'm really glad to see 3 million documents out. I want all of them out. I will join with you and say I want all the. I can be intellectually consistent on all of this. Everybody who committed a crime. Everyone who committed a crime. Everyone who committed a crime should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I'm enraged. It does really bother me that Jeffrey Epstein was allowed to skate because, and I quote, he belongs to Intel.
One question. Benny, one quick question. Does it bother you? Hold on. Does it bother you, Benny, that Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files, regardless of whether you think there's criminal activity or not? I'm asking you, man to man. Is it problematic to you? I guess that's the right word to use. That Donald Trump was his best friend for over 10 years. That Donald Trump was at least 8 times on the plane. We learned that in the Maxwell trial. He was on the flight log. Does it bother you? He's all over the Epstein files at all.
Yeah.
What criminal allegations are you talking about?
Over 1,000 times.
Oh, automatic defense mode. Come on, man. We know what you're talking. Come on.
A criminal allegation. I'm asking Benny, pay attention. Does it bother you, and do you think it's problematic?
I love condescending statements like that. Pay attention. Tracking error. Follow along now. Follow along, class.
That he associated himself. Okay. Does it bother you that Donald Trump associated himself with Jeffrey Epstein from that period of time, and he's all over the Epstein files. Because Joe Biden's not in the Epstein files. Barack Obama's not in the Epstein files. Kamala Harris isn't in the Epstein files.
Barack Obama's White House counsel, Catherine Rumler, is all over the Epstein files, including attempting to set up meetings with Obama while he was
Let me rephrase that question.
She was getting lavish with gifts. She was getting lavish with gifts.
Notice how you won't answer the question.
Benny, please,
but yes,
let me ask you a question.
Don't all talk at once. I would ask Ethan this question. I'd phrase it slightly differently. I've not seen anything, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but where is the damning evidence that Donald Trump continued to consort with Epstein post his conviction? Because that is the line I draw with all of these high-profile people. You can say what you like, but I mean, for example, take Elon Musk, right? If Elon Musk said, which is entirely believable, that he had no idea about Epstein's conviction. This is what Richard Branson said. He didn't know until he did a bit of a deep dive into him. Then it emerged. I didn't know Epstein at all, or that he had a conviction, for example. I never met him, never mixed in his circles, whatever. So it would have been a surprise to me. I'm just surprised that Elon Musk, rather than saying, I didn't know about that conviction, and that would have changed everything, given how strong he's been, for example, about the grooming gang scandal in the UK. But he hasn't done that. What he said is, I never accepted invitations to be on the island, when we have seen all the emails from him, pleading to go on the island. So that's the problem I have with it. So I think with Trump, I've not seen anything incriminating that happens after the conviction. So, Trump can say, as he has been, the moment I knew what he was, I ditched him like a sack of spuds. And people that took that position at least can say with some sincerity, once I knew he was a convicted pedophile, I didn't see him again.
Yeah, I agree with you. That
Okay, so that implies that you're okay with pedophiles who are not convicted, right? I'm kidding. I'm okay with them.
Essentially, there's no smoking gun with Trump post his conviction. I think mostly people, are rightfully concerned when you see that he appears 1,000 times throughout the leaks, right? And the guy was very close with them. There's pictures of him like looking at young girls and talking about how hot they are with a known trafficker. Well, he wasn't known as a trafficker then, but I think people are rightful questioning his character. That being said, there's no smoking gun that he was associated with him afterwards. For example, Elon Musk wrote him an email that said, "When is the wildest party?" Now who would ask a convicted known trafficker, when is their wildest party on their island, right? Like right. You can say, oh, I didn't know, but listen, he did know. This is Epstein. He was a socialite, a New York socialite. These people all know each other. They know. Why is he asking him to party? He knows him because he's the party guy. He's the guy, hey, I got the girls. Yeah. Age optional.
And I'll add something that I agree with everything you just said. There are victims and there are people that made statements to the FBI with the possibility threatened of perjury if they were lying. I tend to believe those victims, but this is a pattern of behavior with Donald Trump. The 25 plus women that have come forward that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, the hiding, not wanting to.
Wasn't there like some leaked part of it that showed that Trump threatened like a 12-year-old girl that, hey, I'm gonna disappear you like I did the others, having disappeared you and your family, or some shit, something crazy.
Talk about Jeffrey Epstein. It's very strange. He doesn't want to talk about it. He calls everybody stupid who even brings it up. And again, I go back to E. Jean Carroll. I go back to him sexualizing his own daughter. I go back to him bragging about going into teenage girls' locker rooms on the Howard Stern show in a beauty pageant that he ran. So there is a history. Now, is it criminally? Have you proven anything in the court of law? Obviously not. But I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And I absolutely believe that the 3 million files that we haven't seen yet, keep that in mind, half the files we haven't even seen yet, they've already released these files that I think are pretty damning to Donald Trump. Imagine what's left that they haven't released yet. So let's wait and see. I agree with Benny.
Okay, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
And I think the guy that grab him by the pussy,
Benny has said very clearly he thinks they should all be released. All right, look, Benny, we're running out of time.
Hang on a second. I just want to get the take on Clinton here. Because there are photos of Clinton in the hot tub. There are photos of Clinton.
I made a video yesterday defending Elon Musk. Do not let him get away from that.
Take on Bill Clinton. Benny, you ready for this? Because I'm not a shill for anybody, Benny. I'll answer your question directly. I believe that both Donald Trump and Bill Clinton have done some very bad things to young women.
I'm just gonna say this again, okay? Like it is you're totally allowed to be bad faith on the Piers panel, okay? You should be bad faith on the Piers panel, all right? You shouldn't play nice. You shouldn't be polite or whatever. You should go full balls to the wall, no conversation mode, okay? All fight, all right?
But here's the difference between me and you, okay? I don't defend Bill Clinton ad nauseum. You defend Donald Trump.
None of us
I want, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I want you held to the highest standard of the law, and I want justice for the victims. I don't play whataboutism. I agree with you that, Bill Clinton probably did some very bad things as well. But guess what? Bill Clinton is not the leader of the free world right now. Donald Trump is. And I have yet to see you actually make the case or make a claim that, Donald Trump probably did some very bad things with Jeffrey Epstein. I will admit that I wouldn't doubt the fact that Bill Clinton has done that. Are you willing to agree with me with some middle ground here and say, Donald Trump also probably did some bad things? Will you admit that right now on Piers Morgan?
No, of course not, because there's no evidence.
Of course not.
Zero.
Because you're a cop, that's why.
But you're saying that when Donald Trump was president, leader of the free world. Hold on, like when Bill Clinton was leader of the free world, he lied under oath about cheating on his wife with his intern.
Again, nobody's defending
Bill Clinton in the Oval Office.
Nobody's defending Bill Clinton.
You know what I think?
Talking about Trump.
guys,
this is the op. Like,
guys, here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line.
President.
With Trump and Bill Clinton, I think the level of embarrassment about their association with Epstein is not dissimilar, actually. Rod, what would you like to say before I just go to Benny for one last word about your investigation in California? So, Rod.
No, I think the record should reflect that of all the people we've talked about in this conversation, Donald Trump is the only one who actually kicked Epstein out of a place and barred him from Mar-a-Lago when he learned that there were reasons to think that there was some creepy activity going on.
It's true.
It's more, you know what, Rod?
Yes.
I think it's a reasonable point. I just think the bottom line for Trump is he appears to have distanced himself from Epstein after the conviction. And I do think that gives him a better position for defending himself than the ones who carried on. Because, you know, if you carry on seeing a guy when he's convicted of being a pedophile, it means you don't care that he abuses underage kids. Period.
Right.
Benny, I just want to end very quickly with you with this extraordinary video you put out exposing a massive fraud in California. Just summarize it quickly.
I thought you were going to say the one he defended Elon Musk associating with Epstein that he posted yesterday. I guess we got confused about which video. You can address either one, Ben.
All right, Benny.
As Piers just said,
you defended Elon Musk yesterday.
Hold on. Emailing somebody isn't a crime. I think we should be focused on crimes.
Which is the wildest party? When is the wildest party?
It doesn't mean he committed any crime.
Okay, fine, but like, let's not sit there and act like this is all innocent, like Benny did in his YouTube video yesterday, as he continues to shill for either Trump or the Russians.
And peddle I want to give Benny the chance to. I want to give Benny a chance to talk about very quickly his investigation in California. Benny.
So California is the epicenter of all fraud. They spend $31 billion on their homeless crisis. That's $170,000 per homeless person. And the result of that is that homelessness has increased exponentially in California, as has federal funding of the homeless crisis in California. Those dollars are being stolen in amounts that are staggering. That makes Somali fraud in Minnesota look like pennies. And it's time for a full-scale federal investigation. We were able to uncover hundreds of millions of dollars of theft. This comes on the heels of other major frauds in California,
Sorry, does anybody here understand cum speak? I just don't really understand what Benny is saying right now. All I hear is I'm sorry. I'm bilingual English Chinese, but I don't speak cum. Okay.
Including the theft of federal funding for unemployment, COVID, and this is why you have a state that still can't repay their COVID loans. California is an absolute nightmare, and it's why they're going to lose 5 electoral seats in the next 2030 census because people cannot get out fast enough. Nonetheless, Gavin Newsom wants to run for president, so I think that it is, and he is absolutely already running for president right now, and so I think it's worth a heavy critical look at how he has managed what I would argue the most resource-rich and the crown jewel of America, the state of California, one of the most beautiful and gifted states, and how he's run it truly into the ground. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing a full investigation. Make sure he's also out there. Make sure he's also out there right now. And so we look forward to his investigation as well.
I'd like to respond if I may.
Thank you very much. Well, finally, Ethan, go on.
Thanks, guys.
Have your final word.
At a time when ICE is rolling up to people in unmarked vehicles, in unmarked outfits, carrying people off the street and taking off in a van, when we have fascism marching into America now, who gives a shit about what's going on in California, right? There's nothing more urgent than what is happening right now with ICE. There's zero
you can give a shit about both. Surely, look, I think you can give a shit about both.
I think you can.
You can give a shit about ICE and what's going on.
I think you should. I think you can say here you can't, right? I think that like this might be a controversial opinion, or maybe not a controversial opinion actually, but I believe that you can't. I think that there's only so much political capital to go around, and it is kind of a zero-sum game. I think for every single time you give a fuck about some issue that is X, you sacrifice some of the time and energy and expedience that you give to issue Y. Yeah. Like let's not pretend this is a, let's not pretend this is not a zero-sum game, because it is. Okay? Yeah, there's only so much. People these days have TikTok brain rot, okay? All right? The same with politics.
I didn't give a shit about corruption.
Yeah, but I think one is much more urgent. I think Benny is intentionally bearing the lead here. I think we're sleepwalking into fascist police overreach, and I want to say fuck ICE and get the fuck out.
Piers, can I just end by saying one quick statement?
Well, I can't have people just endlessly making endless more statements. This isn't the Grammys. It's not the Grammys where you all queue up to say fuck ICE. So I'm afraid I'm calling it there. We're allowed one fuck ICE before we finish.
Piers, let me just say I'm sorry about your fall. I'm glad you're recovering. I'm glad you're feeling better. I was worried about you. We need people like you doing these kinds of shows. I respect you a lot, Piers, and I'm glad you're feeling better. We got to get you back and healthy again. So I'm glad you're back.
And thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I want to just thank you for knowing your place and piping down and not speaking too much, as your opinion is basically worth nothing. So thank you, Governor.
Why don't we end on the happier note that Brian left us with? Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Piers.
Returning to Uncensored now is Glenn Beck, the founder of Blaze Media. Glenn, great to have you back.
Dude, it's just beyond parody sometimes, okay? Oh, that was cool. Cool. Awesome. Good for him, okay? I definitely did not expect that, but that was funny. Dude. Fuck it, whatever. We'll make it a 2-for-1 special, okay?
To get in their faces, Piers, and disrupt a legal federal duty. I don't do that. You know why, Piers? I'm not dumb. You don't do that.
The border is good. Closing it down after the very porous border that we saw under Biden.
I wish they'd let Ethan talk more. I mean, for the times that he did speak, it was pretty good. Not bad.
With millions coming in illegally, that doesn't suit anyone's interests. A lot of people believe that if you're in America already undocumented illegally and you commit another crime, you should be deported. That seems to be general consensus. The flashpoint is about people who may have built their lives in America but came in illegally, who may have been there a number of years, contributed to society, brought up kids and so on. And secondary to that flashpoint is ICE going around urban cities and raiding people's homes, raiding people's workplaces, and getting into now what seems to be constant running battles with protesters, which are leading to people being shot dead. And, you know, I can tell you, looking at this from afar in the UK, where I am at the moment, it's pretty horrifying. What is happening here?
I think you've used the perfect word, and welcome back, Piers. It's really good to see you in good health. This idea of horror and it being horrifying, I think, is right and exact. The government is essentially waging war not just on people who are deemed to be unlawfully here, which is an entirely different conversation that we can have because it's far more complex than just saying Americans don't want them here. I don't think that's true, and I don't think that that's the full story, even if it were. But you're seeing citizens being waged war upon. We're watching protesters being deemed enemy of the states. This
is what Steven was talking about. Even when you push back on topics Republicans bring up, you waste time because you're still on the defensive. It's better to be offensive. Yeah. It is better to be offensive. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Which is, I'm afraid, like, because for as much as I like Hutch, like, I feel like if Hutch was on one of these shows, okay, oh, yuck. I do not think he's going to do well.
Watching unlawful raids at homes and in workplaces, we are seeing an assault on the Constitution. And one of the things that will be seen in court very soon is whether this has been such a judicial or such an overreach that it constitutes a violation of the 10th Amendment right of Minnesota's right to state sovereignty. We'll find that out. But regardless, this is not the solution. This is not the way to solve whatever problem we imagine, because what we're seeing is protesters being demonized, people being criminalized, and innocent people being executed in the streets. This is a horror.
Vinny Achana, great to see you. I've never seen you looking so smart, which may suggest you're viewing this with a new gravity. So first of all, what's the tie all about? I've never seen one censored with a tie.
I just felt, Piers, I had to step up my game. You're always professional, so I want to be professional. And I want to say, A, thank you, Piers, for always having me on. And number two, that you're healthy and you're a strong man. You'll be back. Piers, I want to say one thing to you. Do you know what I don't? By the way, everything that Mark said is factually false. Unlawful this, unlawful that, Constitution this. Give me a second, Piers. Do you know what I do, Piers? I carry a 9mm Hellcat Springfield gun. It's on me right now. Okay, I protect myself. I protect people that are around me. I was in the military. I was on the Air Force shooting team.
You must be such a badass.
I'm that guy, Piers. You want to know what I don't do? I don't take this gun and go to federal agents, ICE events, which he was on signal, this guy Alex, purposeful on signal. It's all coordinated to get in their faces, Piers, and disrupt a legal federal duty. I don't do that. You know why, Piers? I'm not dumb. You don't do that. And by the way, Piers, the gun that he had, little fun fact, is a Sig Sauer P3 220. All right, that gun, there's a bunch of lawsuits for Sig Sauer. That gun goes off just unintentionally. The firing pin goes off.
Right, but the thing about, Vinny, on that point, Vinny, I've seen that report about that gun.
The issue is that you have the gift of hindsight in that one, right? Obviously, that's not reasonable because, like, we can never know. Holy shit! Like, we can never know whether or not, whether somebody has a gun on them until, like, your hand's already on them, right? So we should also argue about, like, okay, well, I mean, like, did that justify that kind of response, right? I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Someone shooting gun. Okay, he got shot dead, right? Whether or not he has the gun didn't even matter in the end. Okay, they're gonna. Look, okay, they're going to find any kind of reason, okay? Any kind of reason to kill, all right? 100%.
We don't know that it discharged itself. There's no evidence that it did at the moment. What we do know from that video...
But Piers...
Well, hang on.
Piers...
Hang on. Here's my point before you finish. My point about this is, the guy, I've had the complete opposite argument about these situations going back 20 years in America, which is that, I agree with you. I don't think people should be armed to the teeth all the time going to do any things like this, right? And yet this is the very argument used back at me, which is that actually, yes, he had a perfect legal right to carry that weapon and to carry his ammunition. At no stage in any of the videos have I seen him, has he been brandishing that weapon or trying to shoot anybody or pulling that weapon or anything like that. In fact, the opposite, what we see is a pack of 8 ICE officers descend on him, and one of them very clearly reach down and take this guy's weapon out of his holster on his waist and take it away, and he is then shot with the first shot a second after that, when they know he's unarmed. So every part of this fails. But so does the logic. I have to say, to me, there's an hypocrisy on the conservative right, which is that I've always been told, right to bear arms, Second Amendment, no one can interfere with that. Yet when this guy does it, suddenly this is wrong. I don't remember that being the way the Kyle Rittenhouse debate was framed, right? I didn't see people on the conservative right then saying that. They said the opposite.
That's right.
Piers, I'm not, hold on. You're talking about a military veteran pro Second Amendment. I'm not saying any of that. But if you're going to go there and disrupt and get into effect, Piers, all of you are watching
yeah,
this
of course,
down,
Daniel.
nice video. It's happening in seconds in real time. And my point about the gun is, Piers, my opinion, when they disarmed him, he doesn't know the gun is gone. It goes off. He's still reaching for the magazines, which he thinks are a gun. But let me, Piers, here's the point.
What's he reaching
why
to?
is this all happening in Minnesota? Can we stop? In Texas, there's 10 times more illegal deportations. You don't hear none of this, Piers. None of this. You know why it's in Minnesota, Piers? Because Tim Walz, Mayor Fry, Ilhan Omar are pushing for people to get in their faces and do this type of stuff. Under Obama, you didn't hear any of it, okay? And he deported way more people than Trump. He's kicking Trump's butt in deportation. But I want to know something too, Piers. It's funny how all these leftists, all these Democrats, like last week when it was that 5-year-old kid, oh my God, he was detained. No, his illegal father ran away and abandoned him, all right? Nobody here even knows that freaking kid's name. The mother didn't want to take him. I'm just curious, everybody on the panel, who's here. Does anybody know who this is? Mark, Lewis, anybody? This is Ivory Smith, 7 years old. She was in her mother's car and a freaking drunk driver illegal hit her and killed her, okay? You know who this is? You guys want to talk about Alex being a nurse? This is Laken Riley. She was.
Oh, please. The only time you ever care about a black person is when you can use them as a political cudgel, all right? Don't pretend that you even give a fuck about any black people, all right? Or give a fuck about anybody, okay? Like, if you, listen, okay? You would 100% wish this motherfucker dead if she ever grew up and voted for Democrats, okay? I'm just saying.
Was jogging in school, and guess what happened? A guy raped her, tried to rape her. She fought back for 11 minutes. 11
Yeah, I bet you fucking jerked off to it, you fucking freak.
minutes, and then he crushed her head. Why wasn't she on the news? Why didn't you hear about her? And lastly, you know who this is?
Put them all on
Jocelyn
the news.
Nungaray,
I think all of
no,
them
I'm curious.
Well, I think they were.
This is like leftists like bringing up pictures of dead Palestinian children, like thinking that this is gonna do anything. Like, oh, I'm sure I can help the cause more by showing like more pictures of dead people.
She was strangled. Wait,
But Vinny, they were on the news.
So like, it's like so vile. Ugh.
she was strangled.
They were on the news.
Okay, and her throat was slit, and she was raped by 2 illegals. All you guys care about is headlines. Piers.
Yeah, you know, you don't have to show your entire porn collection, okay? You need to chill the fuck out.
You know why?
Damn.
Because Democrats are hemorrhaging votes. At the end of the day, this is all votes. Why else do you want illegals? You're fighting so bad to have them in here to count on the census so that Democrats can keep power. Piers, plain and simple.
You know the irony, Vinny,
that you guys care.
Vinny, the irony is the polls at the moment suggest what's hemorrhaging votes is the activities of ICE. And in particular, where it's leading to these deadly encounters. That is hemorrhaging support for the Trump administration, and we're only a few months away now from the midterms.
He's the most popular.
I think
Piers.
Well,
he's the most popular.
You don't think it is?
What do you mean? The poll came out last week. He's popular. It's, Henry Anton.
Can you just like calm down for a moment? Bro, what is wrong with him, bro? Bro, is he okay? Like, he is not okay, bro. He is not okay. Like, you sound like you need a Snickers, okay? Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry.
Just came out with the poll that Democrats.
Foodshops, do you think that if liberals had taken a far more offensive at the start, it would have helped them control and shape the narrative? Yes. Yep. Ethan put that other dude in the back foot pretty hard. Yeah, and Brian Shapiro did excellent. And he was on the front. They were both on the front. Yeah, they were both on the front. Yeah. And I think that I think being like that is a really good strategy, and I think that more people should use that. Yeah, absolutely.
Are having a horrible percentage, and it's been the lowest of support. Piers, this is all emotion, and what I'm telling you is all the same thing happened for Obama. And you know why, Piers? You're across the pond and you're seeing it because you're watching CNN, you're watching MSNBC, and that's their agenda. Plain and simple.
Actually, Vinny,
useful idiots.
Vinny, I watch a lot of Fox News, and I watch a lot of the PBD. I watch a lot of PBD with a guy called the Angry Patriot. So you have no idea what I'm consuming. By the way, since I broke my hip, I have nothing else to do but watch you. So don't mischaracterize me. I do watch the others too because I like to watch what they're all saying. But I appear on Fox all the time. As you know, I don't take a side in this. I just want to try and get to reality.
Nice self-report.
Small businesses drive our economy, but securing capital is a constant struggle. Of the 36 million small businesses in the United States, over 70% report needing additional capital at least once per year. Big banks are burying owners in mountains of paperwork for months. If you want competitive bank rates without all those frustrating bank delays, visit our sponsor, cardiff.co/peers, for up to $500,000 in funding. Cardiff's application takes less than 5 minutes and has no impact on your personal credit. Approvals happen in minutes. Banks try to lock out small businesses. Cardiff has the key. Big banks may not want to approve your business loans, but Cardiff does. If you've been in business for at least a year and you're pulling in $20,000 a month in...
Oh my God. No one is pulling in $20,000 a month.
We're all watching them on videotape. So we can all see from multiple angles what's happened. And yes, we should wait for the investigation. Yes, there might be new things that emerge which change perhaps the narrative. But I know what I saw with Rene Good. And I know what I saw with this latest incident too. And there is no amount of person in authority anywhere in the world who's going to convince me that what I saw was a justified murder. Or a justified killing. Let's not call the word murder. Let's wait and see where the investigation takes us. But a justified killing. It just seems to me ridiculous overreach, probably by ICE agents who are not trained properly in crowd control of this nature, because the Minnesota police aren't getting involved. And that is a whole different area about federal v. state and how they deploy the law enforcement, and about the politics of a blue state and a red administration and so on. But, you know, you're a fellow Brit like me. When we try and get into anything gun-related in America, it's a hot potato. They remind us they kicked us out of America with guns. I get it. It's an issue for America to talk about. We also, when it comes to immigration, we squeal about 40, 50,000 people coming over our southern border when it's estimated 10 million came over in 4 years under Biden. You know, massively, massively larger number of people. And a lot of Republicans say to me, I think with merit, that because Biden made the border so porous, and that there may have been a political aspect to it, because by doing so,
the border bill is blocked by Trump. I'm so tired of saying this. Boring.
So he may have then had people in the country who might be more inclined to vote Democrat, was therefore trying to shore up support going forward. I don't know, but that's the theory. It makes some sense to me. These are huge numbers we're talking about, and something has to be done. And if ICE don't do what they're doing, then how do you actually identify and remove people who are there in America illegally, and particularly the ones who commit heinous crimes?
Well, something has to be done, Piers. I would agree with you, and I would also agree that part of the reason this story is taking place is because political oxygen and space was created by the Biden administration. No doubt they lost control of the border, and no doubt politics of this on the left went too far. But no one voted in the United States, and I've not been watching it from afar because I've just come back from Minnesota reporting from there for the News Agent podcast. And I can tell you right now that no one there, including Republicans, voted for what we are seeing. What I saw in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, was the terrorization of ordinary Americans. Everybody there, particularly if you're black or brown, has a story. They have started in the last 50 days or so taking out their passports with them, taking out their documentation with them. So scared are they about being accosted by ICE officers. Even legal American citizens are worried about being picked up and detained for how...
I hate how even liberal commentators are forced to disparage Biden, right? Like, this narrative that Biden lost control of the border has solidified so well to the point where now, like, even liberal commentators are like saying shit like this. Man, this narrative should not be allowed to run away. I really think like that's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake to let this narrative run away, because now that it's solidified so much, it really hurts us. The fact that Biden didn't give a fuck about the border is just I just don't think it's true in any way whatsoever. The fact that the border bill like happened under Biden should tell you how, right? But then like Trump is the one that sabotaged the bill on purpose. The fact that this narrative is being spread also shows like Trump's administration that this kind of tactic works, right? We shouldn't show them that it works. We shouldn't allow that tactic to work. Steve Bannon is like sitting somewhere, like drinking a fucking glass of wine. Because of this shit, right? Yeah, I just don't, I don't like this. I don't like this. Okay, let's just put it like that.
However long, going to church, going to the supermarket, picking up their kids from school. No one in the United States, even Trump voters, voted for that. Much less did they vote for the killing of American citizens on American streets. And just to pick up what Vinny said, look, there is a reason that these people, many of these people, Rene Good and Alex Pretty, completely model American citizens. No criminal record, simply people concerned about what is going on in the community. Why are they out observing? Just observing, not interfering, observing what ICE is doing.
That's a lie.
No,
That's a lie.
Let me finish.
You're lying.
Observing. No, I'm not. I saw it for myself. Observing.
Rene Good was driving your car and barricading
it. Can you let me finish that?
Lewis,
Can you let me finish that?
Yeah, but you're lying.
Could you let me finish?
Lying. Why
Could you let me finish? Have you been in Minnesota recently? Have you been in Minneapolis? Have you watched it? Because I have.
No, why the hell would I want to go to Minnesota?
Right, okay, because you
Dude, he needs to calm the fuck down, dude. What? Bro, you gotta chill, okay? Like, you're so loud and annoying.
Believe what you want to believe. I'm telling you what I saw. I'm telling you what I saw for myself.
You think Rene Good?
I'm telling you what I saw for myself with my own eyes. People are observing. And why are they observing, sir? They're observing because they know that the federal government will lie about what ICE agents are doing. They have done that repeatedly. They do not wait, as any normal government would do, for an investigation. They do not wait for the facts to emerge. They do not wait to interview observers and people who were there. They simply decree almost instantly that anybody involved is a domestic terrorist. We have seen those lies about Alex Pretty exposed for what they are. He was not trying to massacre anyone, as the Department of Homeland Security claimed. He was observing because he knows that the federal government will lie. If these
Okay, but he was clearly, like, aggressively, you know... I mean, he was clearly aggressively observing, right? Like, he just held up his hands threateningly, you know? In a very threatening manner, I'm sure.
Citizens don't come out and do what they do. They know there can be no justice. They know that these ICE agents will be able to act with impunity. And the proof of the pudding in that is what we have seen with Alex Pretty. If those observers were not there, then he would have been shot in the back as he was, with his gun in his holster, and the federal government would have lied about it. We would have had to believe what they said. Instead, we were able to see, because of the peaceful observations of the people there, we were able to see the truth, which is this was a man who was shot in the...
I don't like... You know, when Alex Pretty was, you know, looking upon the ICE with their aggressive eyes, and it just makes me feel giddy inside, and it makes me feel warm and hot. Oh God, feisty.
Who was posing no threat whatsoever to those ICE officers, and even the reason that they were there in the first place proved to be a lie. That is the ICE officers. Why did ICE say they were there? They said they were there. No, let me finish. They said that they were there to detain an illegal Ecuadorian who was an ardent criminal. What did it turn out? The Minnesota Department for Corrections made clear when they got the name of this person. His only violations, illegal, yes. Was he a violent criminal? No. He'd had a few traffic violations on his record. Alex Pretty died for a man who basically had sped and gone too fast in his car. I don't think his death, killed in the streets by his own country's officers, is worth that, do you?
But Lewis, all right, before I go to Gillian, Lewis, but what would you do? Right, you're in charge of Homeland Security in the United States. You know millions and millions of people have come in the last 4 years illegally. They're in America.
Does that look like a gun? I think it does a little bit. It's a phone. It's black, like most.
Why did he say it like that, bro? Why did he say it like that? What the fuck? Oh. What? Oh my God. Why did he say it like...
That's crazy stuff. I want to show you something. Does that look like a gun? I think it does a little bit. It's a phone. It's black, like most phones. That's crazy stuff.
What?
There's a lot of anger about that with a lot of Americans. You've just seen Donald Trump come in with a thumping win on a mandate of dealing with this. If you don't do it the way they're doing it, how do you get these people, identify them, bring them to justice, and deport them if they're committing crimes?
I would do two things, Piers. I would obey the law, and I would pass immigration reform. If you obey the law, President Obama, he's already said it for himself. President Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. He managed to deport millions of illegal citizens, illegals. He did that, and he didn't need to do that by employing what is basically a poorly trained paramilitary force operating with impunity, attacking citizens of the United States.
Bro, the average BMI, okay? It's not looking good.
And moreover, if you were to do what has long been necessary in America, which is comprehensive immigration reform, the bargain should have always been, the Democrats get what they want, which is a pathway to citizenship, particularly for children who've come over undocumented, but the Republicans get what they want, which is a bolstering of the border. That has been tantalizingly close multiple times. Normally, it's been Republicans, including now the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, when he was in the Senate, who walked away from it because they thought it was a good political issue for them to do. You do not need to deal with immigration by breaking the law.
Can I have 1 minute?
All right, very quickly, Vinny, and then Gillian.
How many ICE detainees died? How many detainees, illegals died under Obama? Do you know the number, Lewis, since you're so factual and you have the history report? How many? 57 died under Obama.
Yes, and you know what else I did?
Died. Number one, let me finish. You said the Biden administration lost control. This is your direct quote. They lost control of the border. Yeah. I'm sorry, you are full of you-know-what. All right, it wasn't lost control. It was on purpose. They opened the border to flood the country to bring their damn votes.
Well, how would they been able to vote if they weren't citizens?
Excuse me, let me finish. When Texas, the governor put a...
Dude, we need to turn... It's black into a soundbite, dude. Okay, somebody turn it into a soundbite because I'm too lazy to do it. Okay, I want to turn that into a soundbite so then I can like turn it into a donation message. Okay, when we turn that into a donation message, it'll be really, really funny. Okay.
the freaking barbed wire. The White House sued them and sent trucks to lift it up to bring these illegals. Enough of your nonsense. And don't talk about churches. You're talking about they're scared in churches. Look what the hell happened recently with the churches where the two BLM people came in there and the report just came out that they were telling the kids.
You know what? It sounds like you're saying, Vinny, that Rennie Good and Alex Pretty had it coming, and it's disgusting.
Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Natural, makers of the Optimum Day and Optimum Night all-natural supplements. Thousands of Brits and Americans are already taking them with incredible results. Optimum Day boosts your energy and supports weight loss throughout the day.
Let me know when you have a pill for erectile dysfunction, okay?
Just a complete void of humanity and any empathy for what happened to that woman, regardless of the circumstances that led up to her death. People were just treating this like a pure political pawn, right? You were either, she had it coming, she shouldn't have been there, she's a domestic terrorist, blah, blah, blah. There was no, like, empathy. This time around, I'm detecting that even President Trump realizes some of his administration on the airwaves was sounding completely ridiculous, calling this guy, Alex Preddy, a domestic terrorist, an assassin, somebody about to wipe out all these ICE agents. We know what we saw. That's obviously not what he was doing. He was actually protecting a woman protester who'd been thrown to the floor. Right now, should he have, given that he was armed, should he have engaged in any kind of struggle or resistance? Well, probably not. Okay, but
when you see something bad happen, I think it's only reasonable to act against injustice, right? How is that such a, that's not a very controversial take, okay? When you see something bad, you got to act against injustice. Okay.
The idea that we can't have incredible empathy for this guy, who's a medic, right, who's now dead, who never brandished his weapon or shot anybody, and 8 guys swarming all over him. I just find that it's gratifying we're not seeing quite the same reaction.
And again, the fact that no one, none of the Republicans are, this is the very definition of good guy with a gun, right? Like, he was a good guy and he had a gun, all right? He didn't need to use it. Right? But he was a good guy with a gun. This is the ultimate narrative, right? It's the ultimate positive narrative for gun users, right? I just can't deny that. It's the ultimate positive narrative for gun users. Let's not pretend that isn't the case, right? But now they're all anti-Second Amendment. Suddenly it's no longer there. Is this narrative of a good guy with a gun just dissipated into thin air into one day? What can I say?
We did with Renee Good, but it's probably forced by the politics, which are increasingly damaging to the Trump administration.
What if he used the gun? Well, but he didn't. If he used the gun, then, that's an entirely different question, okay? I'll still find a way to blame ICE anyway, okay? I promise.
I have actually heard each and every one of you speak, and I have agreed with pretty much all of you for the majority of what you're saying. With Obama, he did expand expedited removal.
If he did use the gun, he had every right to. He was murdered. You have a right to self-defense against murderers. I will not Fed post.
Which is something put into place by Clinton with a Republican Congress to deny a lot of people due process. It was passed in '96. He also had no sanctuary cities. He was getting cooperation from the cities. Those were his cages. They did deport kids. And the only reason I bring this up is because we're so busy pointing fingers at each other. Okay, this woman bit an ICE agent's finger off, and they're throwing cinder blocks at ICE, and they think ICE is the Gestapo, and they're impeding, and they are. And then at the same time, you've got ICE bear spraying people and executing Alex Preddy. All of these things are true at the same time. So the bigger question I have is, instead of trying to figure out who's more wrong, who's more evil here, how do we do what you just said and pass immigration reform? There is actually a bill right now that is bipartisan. It's called the Dignity Bill, and it gives the Republicans what they want, which is strong border enforcement. Literally, I have it right here. So if you want to employ, okay, so just hear me out, guys. If you want to employ somebody, you have to go through E-Verify to make sure that they're legal. Republicans will like that. You've got physical barriers at the border. You've got enhanced technology, 24/7 surveillance at the border. Okay, you can come forward if you've been in the country 5 years, okay? And you can apply for legal status. It costs $7,000, which will be paid over the course of 7 years. You have to pay back taxes.
Well, nobody cares.
It doesn't give you citizenship because you came in the wrong way, but the kids that came in here have access to citizenship. It funds itself. How do we move forward here? That's what I want to focus on. Is this is awful. Everybody's heart is breaking for a host of different reasons, and we got to move forward. Is this something that we could get behind? And if it is, go to house.gov and contact your local congressperson and tell them you want to get behind this bill or some form of reform, because that's what we need.
Yeah, Mark Lamont Hill, immigration reform has been talked about for decades now, and yet there are a lot of points of agreement. Most Americans I've talked to think what Trump has achieved on the southern border is a good thing, and certainly by comparison to what Biden didn't achieve on the southern border. Most Americans are fair-minded and think if you're in the country illegally and you commit another crime that isn't linked to your status, you should be deported, right? You're abusing your position of being in the country. The rest of it America was founded on immigrants, and the rest of it is a much more contentious area. But I do think most Americans are fair-minded about it, and they want to try and find a way to navigate through the millions of people who've built lives in America and want to contribute and pay taxes, have kids, and all the rest of it. It shouldn't be that difficult.
It shouldn't be. But I think the problem is, and I agree with what you just said, not you, Piers, but the smart woman who
Jillian,
said, Jillian, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I've been snowed in with Greeno for 2 days, so my names are blank.
At least you remember my name, even if it wasn't for the right reason.
Indeed. Jillian, I agree with you. I think the presumption in what you're saying, though, is that everyone is operating under the same premise and everybody has good intentions and everybody's moving in good faith. And I'm not convinced that people on either side are doing that. But when we see what's happening right now...
oh, God. Is there one liberal among us? Is there one liberal among us, please? I can't handle this, both sides of them. This both sides of them is very tiring, okay? It's leaving me, like, what you've done is that you've made me tired, okay? What you've done is that you've made me tired. I can't do this no more, okay? There has to be a strong hand here, okay? A firm hand, okay? A firm finger.
In the Trump administration, it seems like the cruelty isn't just an unfortunate piece of a broader project. In some ways, it seems like the cruelty is the point. And so if the goal here is to impose a certain kind of militarism and a certain kind of police state in very specific areas, then I'm not sure that a compromise is going to work. I agree that Democrats have been bad on this. I agree that Obama was a deporter in chief. I had criticism of Obama for that reason. So it's not that I think we should only focus on Republicans here. I think there's a bipartisan failure, and I think every midterm election and every 4-year presidential election, we see just how much political cowardice exists on both sides because no one really wants to die on the immigration hill. So they all bluster and bombast, and then at the end of the day, nothing gets done, and we end up in the same place over and over again. I agree, though. Finally, I think we can come up with some common. It's just like guns. We can come up with some common sense regulations. We can come up with some things that are reasonable across the board, and then the devil that's in the details we can work through. But I think the big detail here that we haven't spoken about, and that I think is important to speak about, is that when we say immigration and illegal immigration, or that word that I hate, illegal alien, we're not really talking about everybody. We're talking about very specific groups of people, very specific ethnicities, very specific colors. They get a very different response from the average reasonable American than others do. There's a reason why we're looking at Somalis. There's a reason why we look at Mexicans. There's a reason why we're looking at Guatemalans, and we're not necessarily looking at all the same people from Eastern Europe or even Western Europe who also could be here illegally. We're looking at very specific populations, and I'm not worried. I am not unconcerned about the crimes that happen. I agree with you. If you're committing crimes here, that's a significant problem. I'm worried about the lives of the millions of people who are not committing crimes, and I'm worried about the stability of those children who are brought here with no choice involved at all. That's why I think we can reach some common ground.
Yeah, and the Obama thing, I was banging on about that for years, even before this show and other, because it always struck me as hilarious that I would go to these like liberal dinner parties and they'd all be ranting about Trump, and I would always do my favorite question: how many people did Obama deport in 8 years? And they didn't know ever, had no idea, they couldn't guess literally in a blue moon what the number was, and they didn't care because it was their guy, right? And eventually I would say it was 3 million, more than 3 million. He was the greatest deporter pro rata per year of presidency in history, as he was the biggest bomber, by the way, Obama, right? It's the same Barack.
But those were Democratic drones, Piers. That's different. Predator drones in Yemen and Somalia are different than George Bush's drones. Totally different.
Exactly. But here's my question for you, Vinny. Tim Homan, who actually I've had on the show, and I like Tim Homan. I think he's a decent guy. Sorry, Tom Homan. I like him as a man. I think he's principled. I think he's trying to do a difficult job as best he can. And I'm glad he's gone down to Minneapolis, and I hope they sorted out. It's encouraging to me that Governor Walz, President Trump are talking. I think that's an indication that Trump knows this has gone too far, and that people in his own administration have been massively trying to sell the public a lot of bullshit, frankly. But Tom Homan's on the record as saying there are 20 million illegal immigrants in the United States. 20 million. Now, if you try and do what they say they're going to do, which is remove all 20 million, that is going to have an incredibly negative impact on the United States economy, right when it can least afford it. Do you genuinely Vinny Ashana, want 20 million people removed from the country?
Piers, I'm going to tell you something right now. Yup. Okay, and when you guys say stuff like, who voted for this? 77 million people voted for mass deportation. And Piers, I am so sorry. It's not just criminals. It's everyone that came here illegally, from a murderer to a freaking Uber driver who's taking American jobs, Piers. My mother, my grandfather, my family from both sides came here and they waited. They did it the freaking legal way, and we're all doing well, okay? We came here the right way. Why does anybody get a pass, Piers? Why is it? Why is it? It's everybody, okay? A sovereign nation gets to pick who stays and who leaves. And just a quick, fun little fact, Piers, because nobody likes to talk about facts. Did you know that murder is down 20%, the most it's ever been in 1 year? Why is that, Piers? Fentanyl.
Yeah, and did you know murder is like fucking illegal? You fucking cumsock? Like, hello? Which is why we should start prosecuting the fucking ICE agents, right?
Overdose, heroin overdose. There's so many percentages that are down, and everybody, I think it was the New York Times, was like baffled. They're like, what could this be? How could it happen? This is what the real Americans voted for, Piers. And I'm sorry, Obama, I saw a video today from 2013 where he goes, hey, kids are getting taken away. It looks bad on camera and XYZ, but hey, it has to be done, Piers. It has to be done. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it sucks. And you're talking about jobs. How many jobs are those illegals taking from Americans, Piers? How much money? And just
how many jobs? Well, hang on, Vinny, how many jobs are they taking that Americans don't want to do?
You're trying a bit too hard, Vinny.
Okay, Piers, guess what? Americans will step up and do the damn job. Okay, Piers,
you
that's
reckon?
just an excuse. And the one thing I want to say, Piers, the one thing I want to say, and I'll give it back to you, when I said why Minnesota, is it weird? Nick Shirley, a 23-year-old kid, exposed almost $9 billion of fraud. The majority was in the Somali community, and then all of a sudden, all this is happening to distract everybody, Piers. This is all these awesome Somalis that are coming here that are robbing the American taxpayer blind. Anybody, Piers, anybody that is here illegally, and I love that Jillian made the point. The system's broken, meaning for the process. What, Trump's at fault because he's going through with the law? He's going through with exactly what the law says? I voted for it. 77 million people voted for it. We are tired of everybody going, oh, you guys are evil for wanting people gone. What's happening in the UK, Piers? What's happening in Italy and Germany, okay? They're all crying now, oh, wow, because Keir Starmer and everybody's letting you guys get invaded by all these freaking people, okay? America stays strong. Yes, we let people come in here, Piers, but enough is enough, bro. Enough is enough, okay? Get everybody out, leave, come back in the legal way. What's so wrong about saying that? What's so wrong about saying that? Come, there's a line. There's a line. Why?
All right. Then I'm going to ask Lewis. Lewis, you know, when I want to work and live in America, I've got a home in LA. When I want to...
Dude, this guy is not well. Bro, did his, like, dog die yesterday? Or, like, what's going on here? What is wrong with this guy?
Every 3 years, I apply for a visa. It costs me several $1,000s to process. I do it all completely legally. I get all the documentation, all the paperwork. I go to all the interviews. And then, thankfully, for the last 20 years, my visa gets renewed and I get to continue living and working in the United States. And what a lot of people who are there, who live in America as citizens, or who have come in and become, you know, green card holders, citizens, whatever you want to say, they say to me is, well, why am I going through all this? Why am I doing things the legal way? As Vinny said, why am I doing things properly and spending money doing it when people can just waltz in over the border and then if they get there, we have to keep them?
I completely agree with that, and I agree. Let me say entirely explicitly, I agree with Donald Trump. I also agree with Bernie Sanders, who both say if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. I completely agree with that, and I think that's entirely essential as long as you have a nation state. The question is I'm sure we can all agree on that in principle. The question then, of course, becomes what about the people who are here already? And although I think there will be universal agreement that certainly anybody who is a criminal ought to be deported, anyone who commits crimes, there are just practical questions that go beyond the theory. For example, what happens when you have got someone who is brought over undocumented as a child? They might have been in the United States or the UK for that matter, or anywhere for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They may have got married. They themselves may have had children who are themselves citizens. As a matter of practicality, what do you do about those? Do you want to be the sort of country which sends someone who has lived and contributed and paid taxes for decade after decade back to a country that they know not at all? It's all very well talking about this stuff in theory.
And again, I'm just going to say this right now, okay? These people are some of the most patriotic people in the United States, okay? There's nobody more patriotic than a Latino person, okay? Why have they signed up for ICE? Why have they signed up for ICE? Like, do you think that they just signed up for ICE because they love Mexico so much? To sabotage ICE or something? Or do you think it's because, like, it's because they are some of the most patriotic motherfuckers? Okay, at least they think so, right? And they think that they're doing the right thing. No, I don't even think that they think that, probably. They probably just want to fucking... probably want to shoot someone, Jesus. But, like, yeah, again, this is like...
It's about, in reality, what you do in practice, which is precisely why there needs to be immigration reform. But just two points of fact on something that Vinny had said. One is with regards to the UK. There is no invasion of the UK. We're talking about a certain number of irregular migrants. I know this is a sort of obsession with MAGA in terms of what they think is going on in the UK and the misinformation that they see. Yes, there have been too many people that have arrived over the English Channel under successive governments, Conservative and Labour. Both of those governments are doing something about it. More and more of those people are being deported through the proper legal process.
Remember, there's nobody more patriotic than somebody who has lost their home because they're fleeing from a corrupt regime to go to America to find a new home, okay? There's nobody more patriotic. There's absolutely no way anybody would put in that amount of effort to do that if they didn't believe in the American project, okay?
And with regards to why Minnesota and why Minneapolis, why would it be, if this were just a matter of enforcing the border and deporting illegal migrants, why would it be that you would flood ICE agents into the Twin Cities, which have probably, it's estimated, between 90 and 100,000 illegal migrants of that massive number that you just said? How could it be that you would have more ICE agents in Minneapolis than you have local police officers? This isn't just about immigration. This is about the politics of fear against a blue state and against a blue set of cities. That's why it's not happening in Texas. That's why it's not happening in red states. It's about a show of political force as much as anything else.
But the argument, Gillian, of course...
All true.
Okay, but the argument, of course, Gillian, from the other side is it was the blue states that were helping to fuel the invasion in the first place, right? They were the ones who didn't care that millions and millions of people were coming in. And Elon Musk has repeatedly said that he believes the motivation for the Democrats and the blue states and the blue presidencies, the motivation in leaving the border so open was that the majority of people who came in illegally that way would be so grateful that they would end up voting Democrat. And therefore, you would change the demographic layout, if you like, of the United States in elections forever in a way that went slanted Democrat.
Well, you also see it, if in theory, right, if this theory is true that Elon Musk is putting forward, what he's suggesting is that it also games the apportionment map. Because it doesn't matter if the population in your state is documented legally or not, the more people you have, the more congressmen you get, or congresspeople you get, the more electoral college votes you get. California has had a pretty massive outmigration of citizens, I think 1.5 million in the last couple of years, but they've also gotten an influx of people who are undocumented. So it's created a parallel. Now, again, having said that, I can understand why people on the right are like, hey, this is creating shadow economies. They're paying this guy less to do that job, and I would do it. If he wasn't here, I'd get paid more. Maybe it's true. Maybe it isn't, right? Hey, I'm paying all these tax dollars, and I'm hearing that they're getting healthcare in California and interest-free loans and all of this stuff that I'm not getting, and I'm a tax-paying citizen and they're not. And it creates huge resentment. Then you have people that did go, like Vinny, like you, who went through the process and did everything right, like you, Piers, and they're like, hey, no. They don't.
Oh God, she's so enlightened, guys. She's so woke. Dude. Like, what is the point of her being on this panel, dude? She's so useless. Ugh.
Get a pass. This isn't fair. But then, as you were just suggesting, what are we going to do? This is almost like a gun debate. You want to remove guns from America? We got 400 million floating around. How are you going to get them out? Like at some point, what should be is irrelevant with regard to what is. And this is why, again, I cannot say it enough. I think that this dignity bill gives everyone what they want. If you came in illegally, you can have legal status, you pay back taxes, you pay a fine, but you're not a citizen, you can't vote, you can't work here illegally. It removes these shadow economies. It gives kids that were brought here a path to citizenship. It like prevents criminals from being in the country. It forces the state government and the federal government to work together. Like, guys, you're all right in large part, but what do we do about it? Like, can everybody on this panel?
Sorry about my aunt, you guys. She means well. Tell your aunt. Tell your aunt. You know what? Tell your aunt she's just doing just fine. Okay, someone has to play this role. Okay.
Work towards. Look at this legislation. Work towards moving something like this forward. Like, how can we stop finger pointing? We're tearing each other apart, and this is what they want.
Thank you, ball mom.
Both sides want this shit because the more we fight with each other, the more it rallies both sides of the base.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's just end with a simple question. And I'll start with you, Julian. Should Alex Pretty have been shot?
What the fuck? Who are these people?
Lewis?
Of course not. It was grotesque.
Mark?
Of course not. It's an absurd idea.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, guys. What is he gonna say, guys? Oh no. It's over. Oh no.
Vinny.
He absolutely should not have been shot, Piers, and he shouldn't have been brainwashed to show up to a freaking federal situation with a gun, regardless of what his intentions, holding a camera, period. God rest his soul. Piers, literally, you know who I am. I'm a Christian. God rest his soul. He shouldn't have been there, and he shouldn't have been brainwashed to go in there and interfere with federal law enforcement.
We're not also, just to be clear, real quick, Piers.
I would caveat that by saying that I think he would argue, if he was still with us, that he was exercising his rights to the First and Second Amendment.
And that's totally fine.
Bro, I'm so glad that Piers Morgan is like he can talk to ghosts, and I'm so happy that he is channeling the power of Alex Pretty right now, and communicating with him via mind Ouija board. Okay, all right, totally respectful right here.
And that's totally fine.
But the interesting part, let's not really get all that. I think the interesting thing is, all four of you agree he shouldn't have been shot. And if we start from that position...
No, but we're not starting from the same place, Piers. That's my point. Three of us are saying he shouldn't have been shot because the police did something wrong, and one of us is saying he shouldn't have been shot because he shouldn't have been dumb enough to show up there with a gun and protest. And so
Mark, because I know he wants to end. Mark, why was he there? Mark, why was he there?
I'll answer your question. I'll answer your question as long as you let me finish my sentence first. I haven't interrupted you one time. So what I'm saying is that I have a critique of the officers and their behavior. If you show up with a gun to a place where you're allowed to have a gun, and then the gun gets taken from you before you're shot, and you never brandish the gun, you never threaten the officers with the gun, then I'm putting the blame on the police officers. You can always look at someone's actions and say if they had done like the butterfly effect and say, had he not done this, that would not have happened. I'm not disagreeing with that. But the question here is, what is his legal right and what is his moral right? He has a legal right to be there. He had a moral right to be there, an ethical right to be there. And what the police did was absolutely horrific. And so while the three of us are saying, yes, he shouldn't have been shot, and you're saying the same thing, you're still blaming him for his own death ultimately. And that's the part I find repugnant.
Mark, you're Mark, I'm with you, brother. 1,000%. First Amendment, Second Amendment, all that stuff. Who told this guy that going to ICE and interfering with them, legally taking an illegal out of this freaking country was the right thing to do? It was Tim Walz, and he didn't say just go there and protest. He said get in their faces, and he called them the Gestapo. Mark, they're rallying the freaking troops for a reason, and 70% of these arrests of these illegals have criminal histories. Let's just not just crossing the border. 70%, and I know it sucks, Mark. 30% are just people like, hey, you're illegal, you got to go too. But I'm not blaming anybody. If you show up there, Mark, you're responsible for your actions, and then when something happens where you have a gun on your hip with people running around, I'm sorry, Mark, These things come with the territory, brother.
On that basis,
do you know what? I think we've actually reached a place where I finally made some progress in my campaign to stop so many Americans carrying guns. Vinny Ashana has now endorsed my view that America would be a lot safer if fewer of you walked around.
I kind of see what Destiny is talking about. These guys are all having fun, okay? These guys are treating politics as a joke. I don't like this. I hate this. Keep in mind, like the moment that this episode was filmed, this was right after the Alex Preddy shooting. Okay, it was a monstrous thing that happened. Yeah, I mean, we could make jokes, but we have the right opinion. Okay, we are correct. All right, but it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks to see that, like, I don't know. I feel as though like all of this is like made very light of, you know, like, oh well, yeah, I'm so glad that at the end of the day we can get together and be friends and blah blah blah. Oh, we can just like laugh over this, over like some kind of whatever. Like no, like every single decision that you make, every single take that you make has real world ramifications. Okay, people die because of things that other people say, right? People die when you know, enough stochastic rhetoric gets spread around and then, you know, people start shooting people. Like, you can even argue that Trump is the one that caused that, right? Because you can argue that Trump is the one that ultimately that ultimately contributed to that, right? Where he basically said, you know what? Do your patriotic job, do your job to America and join ICE, right? Like, this isn't just a game. People are dying, all right? I don't like this thing where, oh yeah, everyone can sit around. Which is why I kind of understand why Destiny never laughs along whenever he's on Piers Morgan. Whenever Steven is on Piers Morgan, he's never laughing. And he's never like, oh well, I'm laughing along with you, like, because this is a funny joke, ha 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 ha, ha, right? Yeah, I mean, like, you gotta treat this for what it is. It's the politics of life and death, right?
Strap with guns. I've got there. It's happened. Thank you, Vinny.
No, wait.
That's true.
No.
It's
Piers,
a long way from that position that me deported.
No, he just wants his people with guns.
Hey, Piers, I know I thanked you earlier, but I love how all of us could sit here, we can all talk, we can all debate, we can all
What did I say? Proven right in real time. Proven right in real time. Okay? I'm just correct. My takes are just correct. Okay, what can I say? My takes are just correct. Just listen to me, okay?
Respect each other. I want to say thank you again. And Piers, I think I mentioned it before. I think your wife will be okay. For you to be able to come in the country and never have to deal with this drama, I'll marry you. We won't do any funny stuff just to get you papers.
It's almost objectively true that America would be better off if all of these guys were dead, right? Like, I'm just saying, okay? Like, it's pretty clear to me. Like, listen. These people are reprehensible, okay? Some people do actually deserve, all right? Like, so, listen, okay? This isn't feasible, okay? People like this do not treat politics the way that it is, okay? It's not some game that you just simply play around and you toy with and whatever, okay? Please do something pragmatic. Please actually take politics seriously, okay? This isn't, you don't sit at a table, all right? You don't, if you sit at a table and one of them is a Nazi, then you're all Nazis, okay? If you sit at a table of 10 people and 9 of the people are Nazis, then that last person is a Nazi, right? You can just laugh and play around and joke and have fun with a bunch of people that want your death. I think that Steven also said this a long time ago, but just keep in mind that this is a long time ago. All right? Keep in mind, okay? You should never, ever be shamed into being friends with people that ultimately want your destruction, okay? Like, I think the example that was given was a trans person, right? A trans person shouldn't be shamed into becoming friends with somebody that ultimately wants to legislate away their rights, right? Or a woman shouldn't be forced to make friends with somebody who is fundamentally, you know, against women's rights or abortion, right? It's an unreasonable ask to make, right? You shouldn't be like, of course, pragmatically in public, like you kind of want to make an appearance, you kind of want to, you know, talk about things, blah, 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 right? But, you know, like, ultimately, it's like very denigrating to the human spirit, right? Like, it's very denigrating to the human spirit when, you know, you're trying to legislate stuff like this through, right? But
that's how much I love you.
You can do so much better,
Vinny?
Piers. You can do so much better.
You know what, Vinny? Actually, I don't think I could. Life,
Are you offering
life with
Marcus?
Vinny.
I think Marcus is
Life with
offering.
Vinny. Life with Vinny Oshana would never be dull. Would never be dull. Thank you all very much.
You would be carrying a gun with me.
Well, I interviewed my brother earlier, actually, yesterday, and he was one of the crack shots in the British Army. So it's not like my family have an aversion to guns. In fact, some of them are very, very good with guns. He just preferred to do it on a battlefield.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Piers.
Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate, and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more...
oh, Lord. Destiny is so forthright and earnest, though. It's actually precious. Yeah, I agree.